Guys, what's up? It's Spiderwolf back for another JJKPhantomparade video. So today we're gonna be going over, should you summon for the Itadori? Honestly, probably should, low-key, but I would recommend to wait. But before we get started though, I would really appreciate you guys drop a like, comment, subscribe. Would really help me out. Got a goal of 1,000 subscribers, trying to hit it. So would really help me out if you guys, help me out with that. But with that being said, let's get right into it, boys. Or girls, you never know. So, like as you guys know, we do have the usual new story event. Well, maybe not usual, because sometimes they don't always add a story event, right? But for this time, we will be having a story event, specifically, of course, tied to the anniversary itself, or half anniversary. So pretty cool stuff, It is a lottery event, as you guys can see here. We are going to, of course, getting a free recollection bet. Also, Itadori's free outfit is included in the lottery too, so make sure you guys get that. Well, it shows it that way, unless it's in the missions, right? Now, we may be getting a free 10 roll for Itadori either in this banner or maybe in like a login. I didn't really see anything for like a login free 10 roll, so there might be a free 10 roll from the lottery, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, I'll be making a video and let you guys know, but some of you guys might just find out on your own. If you guys log in. But yeah, and this is of course the overall stuff that we are basically getting. Of course, the new Itadori, the login recollection bit. We're also getting the Itadori banner recollection bit, and then we're also getting the free one from the lottery event here. So it's pretty cool stuff overall. Now here's the other thing too, I'm just showing off the new outfit here a bit more. So basically this is how it's going to look, and this is how you would apply it basically. So you can either have that or the outfit, and then here's the different things that change. And of course they are also showing the main expansion Gojo, which we're going to get next week. So be excited for that, guys. Be excited for that. As you guys know, heck, we even have the artwork too down here. Oh, the block for you guys. But on the left here, we do have the artwork anyways, as you guys can see, for the main expansion Gojo. So yeah, just letting you guys know. My recommendation though, I would say wait till next week. At least get the main expansion Gojo first, and then come back to Itadori is what I would say at the very least. Also, apparently the outfits do give a couple extra stats, as it says here, which I actually don't know about. I'd imagine it's probably gonna be like something like maybe like a 100 HP, 100 or like 100 attack, something simple like that. Probably nothing too crazy. Anyways, I'm gonna quickly look at the timeline here before we do get into the things, just to double check everything. So yeah, well, this is basically all we're getting this week, or technically like tomorrow or like in 2 days, basically. All these events here. So all these events are basically coming to global. We're all getting all these, and some of these are already here actually. Like I think the player rank is already here, and then some of these other free AP missions and whatever is here. Of course, the free multi is here as well. And then next week, we're probably going to be getting the tower floor update, I'd imagine, with Gojo, maybe some other event, because he didn't come with an event. So we're probably going to get one of the old events we haven't gotten. Maybe the Den Mall edition. We'll have to wait and time out. Anyways, going to the tier list, right? As you guys can see, Yellow Itadori is a double S tier DPS character. He's on the same tier, of course, as Team Gojo. I don't know. My brain was trying to fuse Geto and Gojo together. I don't know why. But yeah, he's in the same tier as Yellow Team Gojo here. And as you guys can see, there's no other really yellow DPSs here other than these two. And as good as Domain Expansion Gojo is, can't really run both two Gojos in the same team. So at the same time, it is kind of a necessary pickup a little bit to pick up this Itadori if you do want to run the Gojo, because he's a really good character overall. So just letting you guys know about that one. But I will say at the very least, just wait one more week, get yourself that Gojo, and then come back to Itadori is what I'm gonna say. Now let's look over what he does. What makes him such a good DPS character, right? So we know he's yellow. He's only physical. Okay, so he's not mixed. Okay, so his characteristics: he's resistant to poison and soul damage, and able to attack soul, which makes sense because the whole lower Sukuna thing. He's able to black flash as well. So skill 1, punch. At level 1 here, there's 120 physical damage to selected enemy, so nothing too crazy. At level 10, 240 now. So yeah, very simple, nothing too crazy going on here. Okay, so skill 2, strike of resolve. So level 1 deals 280 physical damage to selected enemy with 2 hits, and increase own ultimate skill gauge charge rate by 20% for 3 turns. That's kind of cool. So basically helps him get his ultimate a little bit faster. And then if he's in his zone state, the whole nickname that he has, right? Zone Itadori, right? Skill effect changes to deals 340 melee physical damage to the selected enemy with 2 hits. So you're getting an extra almost 100 damage there. Actually, not really 100, more like maybe an extra 60, 40, something like that. But still pretty good, right? And then he's increasing own taijutsu or physical damage by 20% for 2 turns. However, the ultimate skill gauge charge provided is now half. So however much it's giving you, now it's kind of half, but you're basically getting more damage out of the skill, which is pretty cool. There's also another effect with this as well. When performing an additional action, activates an effect depending on the order in which the skill is used during the turn. So if it's used as the first action, increase own critical hit rate by 40% for 1 turn, and increase own black flash rate by 15% for 1 turn as well. That's pretty good. That's pretty big buffs right there. Now, if it's a secondary action, you're increasing your own damage by 30% for 2 turns instead. Okay, and then they also have like the numbers, basically like the chances for getting crits and all that stuff, basically. Okay, interesting. So let's see. Let's break this down. So when performing an additional attack, activates an effect depending on the order in which the skill is used during the turn. So I don't quite understand what it means exactly when, because let's see. So this is when performing an additional action, right? So okay, I thought it said additional action. You can activate, so it says either the first action or the second action. So I don't know if they mean like by turns, right? Like, oh, like the first turn you activate the skill so you get the first part, or if they mean like something else. So I'm not too sure what they mean exactly by the whole additional action effect here. But what it does say basically, this is, saying like what you are getting from either if it's the first action or the second action. My only other assumption is I guess that wouldn't really make sense. Because my idea is that what I'm thinking is that unless they mean like if Itadori is like the first slot, he gets this, but if he's like the second slot, he gets this, or if maybe they're like if it's like a different thing here, right? Because it says activates an effect depending on the order in which the skill is used during the turn. So that's why I'm a little bit confused here, like as to which one we're talking about here. Unless what they're saying is that you're getting these buffs, so it's like if you're getting the increased critical rate, increased black flash, if you don't have your zone activated, but then if you do have your zone activated, you get increased damage dealt by 30%. Unless that's what they mean. Maybe that's what they mean. I'm not too sure. Because that's something I can think of, maybe, is that maybe if you have your zone activated, you get the secondary effect, but if you don't have your zone activated, you get the first effect here. Not too sure. Also, it does cost 30 curse energy. Which is a little bit weird because he is taijutsu only, so I think it's a little bit weird. Anyways, at level 10, we're looking at 432 melee damage now, and then we're looking at 517 if he has zone activated. However, he now gets a 29 physical buff, so a lot bigger, and then that's basically all it changes. So more damage basically, quite a bit more damage, and then a bit more physical taijutsu buff basically there. And then at level 8 you're looking at 26.7, so still a decent amount there. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a pretty good skill overall. Not 100% sure how the secondary effect here works, but I'm going to assume it's based on if he has zone activated or not. Like, because it is saying like you're getting like an additional effect here, right? So I'm going to assume it's basically going off of if you have zone activated or not, because that's something I can really think of as to what they're cooking up here with that one. Also, we have skill 3 here now. Extra Flurry at level 1 with 25 cursed energy cost. Increase own break damage by 106%. That's very huge for just level 1 for 1 time, which makes sense. And then you're dealing a 335 melee physical damage to select enemy 3 hits now. And increases own damage received by 15% for 2 turns. That's very, very strong. So basically, big break damage, big regular damage, right? Just which is regular damage, right? And then he's basically able to take less damage by 50% for 2 turns, which is very nice. Now, if you have your zone activated, now it changes to you're dealing even more break damage by an extra like 60% there. And then you're just dealing overall just more damage from your regular one, now jumping from 335 to now 434. So basically this one's going up to 100 now. And then the ultimate skill charge up is provided is half. So basically, like however much this skill would have given you for your ultimate charge, now it's giving you half of that basically. So basically you're just trading like damage for getting your ultimate a bit slower. And then at level 10 we're looking at 160 without the zone. So this is without the zone. It's 160 without zone for break damage, and then you're getting a 520 physical damage. You're dealing 560 or 520 physical damage to the enemy, and then the damage reduction is still the same. Now, if you do have your zone activated state, or if you have the zone state activated, now you're doing 250 break damage, and now you're dealing 600 alien melee taijutsu damage or physical damage. So very big numbers. Skill 3 looks like it's going to be very worthwhile to level up to max. That is very massive. But if you can only take up to level 8, this is what you're working with. You're looking at 400 or 147 break damage, 479 physical damage, and then you have your zone activity. Now you're dealing 231 break damage and 625 melee damage. So still very big numbers though. Though the break damage does seem to be quite significant between level 8 and level 10, at least for if you don't have your zone state activated. But overall, the damage is still very huge. So that is very strong. That is very strong. So ultimate here, Black Flash, deals 750 melee taijutsu damage or physical damage to a selected enemy, and then you activate your zone state, and you're guaranteed to perform a Black Flash, which is kind of funny or it would be kind of funny if it didn't, right? Because the name limit says Black Flash, and this is level 1. Now at level 10, we're looking at 1,500 physical damage, and then everything else is the same basically. So you're dealing basically the same amount as Team Gojo's ultimate. So if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure his ultimate was about 1,500 as well. Let me just double check here. Yeah, maybe like a little bit more than Itadori, but basically the same thing. Okay, yeah, regardless, still very huge damage, right? Well, of course, we'll see if there's anything else here as well, because I'm assuming there's gonna be more, right? So his combo effect here, you're just recovering your own and the allies' curse energy by 10, and then you're feeling airbase ultimate gauge by 110. So nothing too crazy there. So he does have 2 auto skills here. Zone Outburst. At the start of each turn, if zone state is activated, increase own taijutsu state or status by 30%, so your physical damage gets increased by 30%. Increases own Black Flash rate by 50%, so you're gonna be able to get those Black Flashes, which are basically crits, a lot more. And you're increasing your own cursed energy consumption efficiency as well. So basically, you know, a skill that's like 25 here, that costs 25 cursed energy, is gonna be maybe like 20 or 15 cursed energy, so that's pretty cool. And you're also going to be able to recover your own curse energy by 10, so that's going to be very good, because a lot of this stuff is a bit costly, to be fair, but you know, overall it's going to be very useful. And then you cannot activate ultimate skill. Okay, interesting. And then performs an additional action 1 turn, reduces zone state count by 1 at the start of the next turn, reduce own skill curse energy cost by 5, so that's how much you're reducing it with the efficiency here. And then when Black Flash is performed, you recover your curse energy, so that way he can get more curse energy to do those skills more often. Okay, so that's interesting. I'll give my thoughts a bit more once we read the last bit here. So his other auto skill here is Vessel of Sukana. At the start of battle, grants poison and soul damage resistance to self, and he's immune to instant death effects caused by soul damage to self, so that's pretty cool. Definitely more usable, there's more cool stuff happening with the first bit, but the second one's still very useful, right? If there's any gimmick fights like that, it can be very useful for that. Now, give me my thoughts on this. Overall, pretty good kit. I think it does make sense though with the whole, or I think it's fair at the very least that you can't activate your ultimate skill when you do have your Black Flash, because it looks like the idea that they want you to do with this Itadori is that you do your ultimate with Itadori, you get your zone state for the 2 turns, you get all these buffs, but then if maybe you're able to get your ultimate really quickly, they don't want you to have those buffs and then do the ultimate, I guess. But I think it's fair, right? Because you're still getting some pretty big buffs. You're like more physical damage, more Black Flash chances. You're gonna be able to do your skills a lot more often. So, you know, kind of incentivizing you to like actually use skill 3, use skill 2 as well, to kind of like help you build up. So for the most part, the beginning of the battle of every battle, right, you're gonna probably be using most of these skills, right? You're gonna be seeing the first effects, right? So like getting the ultimate charge, getting your physical damage as well, then getting your break damage, and then getting damage reduction here. And then once you do your ultimate, then you're getting the secondary effects here, right? With more break damage, more damage overall, different buffs here and there. Skill 1's basically doing nothing still, but I think that's fine. Yeah, I mean, honestly, not too bad. It does kind of suck a little bit though that the only way you can activate zone state is through the ultimate, but it's still pretty good because during those 2 turns you're going to be able to do big damage from skill 3 and skill 2. I don't know if you really which one you want to go for though, because I feel like skill 3 might be a little bit better, but I think skill 2 might still be worth using. Yeah, I think probably what you want to do is once you do your ultimate, probably do skill 2, so you get this extra taijutsu buff because it is for 2 turns. And then on the last turn you have the zone state for Itadori. You can do skill 3 here, and then basically get even more fucking damage, right? Because you have an extra taijutsu buff there, so you're buffing your physical damage even more. Yeah, overall, very strong character. going to be very useful for a lot of content, I'd imagine. So yeah, you know, I guess like that's the one downside to him is that you kind of have to like wait a little bit to get his like big damage numbers, because you have to wait till his zone state is activated, and then of course the thing with zone state being activated for 2 turns, so that kind of sucks a little bit. But I mean, overall, like, you know, even when you don't have zone state, you still get some pretty decent effects here, like pretty good damage, pretty good break damage. You're also able to get your charge or your ultimate a little bit quicker. Yeah, you know, honestly, not too bad. Plus, you do still get damage reduction from skill 3 no matter what. So he's not going to be able to like get killed as easily, right? Though it could be a little bit more, but he is a DPS character, so it kind of makes more sense that he doesn't even have that as like a bigger damage reduction. But yeah, you know, like, what can I say? Good character. Very good character. Now we'll take a look at the other stuff here as well. We got cooking up. So we have the tier list here for the recollection bits. I'll be honest, basically all of them are like very mid. They're not that crazy except the one on the banner, but even that one's like not too crazy. So the gacha recollection bit, it is an A tier 150 zone, of course it's physical, so there it is. The other one, that's the login bonus. That one is in that's a mixed damage one, but that one is also considered a A tier one. Specifically, it looks like maybe a lower tier A tier one, so it's let's say it's a decent option, right? And then the final one from the event itself, the lottery event, that one is actually, if I remember correctly, yeah, it's down here. It's also an A tier. Okay, yeah, so they're all A tier, so you know, a little bit above mid, right? They're above mid. They're not mid, but they're above mid basically. So we'll take a look at what they do. So here's the one from the lottery real quick. So it's a 50-50 one, and then we do a command skill ultimate. So if you do anything, you recover your own curse energy by 5, and then you fill your own ultimate skill gauge by 50. And then if you have 1 dupe into it, at the start of battle, increase own taijutsu and jutsu by 10% for 3 turns. And then the more Tokyo and jutsu high, basically if you have Itadori, Nobara, Megami, I think maybe even Gojo would count, but they do say Tokyo jutsu high first 3. So, but basically probably those characters, right? But basically the more of them you have, the more your taijutsu damage increases, though they don't really say how much here. So I'm gonna guess it's either, it can also be anything. It could either be like very small numbers, or it could go by like 5, right? So, you know, not too bad. So this could maybe reach like a maximum of like 20% or something, maybe, depending on how much the buffs are, right? Yeah, very decent buff here, not too crazy. I guess the one downside is that you do get this buff only for the first 3 turns of the battle, when you probably don't have that much like stuff to like really make your characters that strong. So kind of mix there. The curse energy is kind of not too bad though, if any characters do need it. So at the very least, you could probably use this for any support characters that you want to kind of need their, you know, to spam their skills a little bit more. That can help out a little bit there. So not too bad. Now the next one is the login one. Here's the login one. So this one is also 50-50. I guess I should mention the numbers here are a little bit lower. So this one's 26 for both. And then the login one is 29. So when a command skill ultimate is activated, so if you do anything, and if your own HP is 35 or above, you're going to be able to increase your own damage dealt by 40% for 1 turn. And if your own HP is below that, you're going to be able to recover your own HP by 10%. Now with 1 dupe, at the start of the turn, if 1 HP is below 50%, increase own damage received by 10% for 2 turns up to 1 time during battle. So not too bad. Helps you survive like a little bit, I guess. So it's okay. And then of course, if you do have a max dupe, now you're getting a 45% damage dealt buff, and you're recovering your HP by 50%. So I mean, it's not too bad, I guess. At least the heals are semi-consistent, like where, you know, there's no like cap, right? Where it's like, oh, if you hit this HP limit 1 time, you get healed, but then that's it, right? You do get healed multiple times, you know, if you're still around that HP limit or like threshold, right? But yeah, not that crazy, kind of whatever. The damage though, it's really not that crazy, like I just said. Yeah, so wouldn't really level this one up, but the art does look really cool, though, right? At the very least, the art does look really cool. And the final one, the one that is on Itadori's banner. So this one is also 50-50, which is a little bit interesting because Itadori is supposedly a fully, you know, physical character, right? So a little bit weird on that regard, in my opinion. But when you do the first part here, when you do an ultimate or skill, so you do anything, increase your physical damage by 60%, so that's pretty good so far, and you're recovering your own curse energy by 10, which you kind of need for Itadori because its skills do cost curse energy, so you kind of do want him to kind of have a lot of curse energy. So some of those some of those recollection bits that do give curse energy for the whole team, you might want to consider actually running those on the team when you use this Itadori, so you can spam those skills a little bit more often. This is, however, is only available after 5 turns have passed. So basically, after the first 5 turns of battle, you'll get these buffs here. Actually, hold on. Is this a permanent buff? Yeah, I think this, because I don't see any like for one turn or whatever. Yeah, so this might be it. If it's a permanent buff, that's actually kind of crazy. The downside is you have to wait 5 turns, but like for most content, you kind of have to wait that many turns anyways, for, you know, to stack up enough buffs. So if this is like a permanent, after 5 turns you get 60% damage buff and you're covering your own crystal energy by 10 every turn, it's kind of huge, I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of huge. And of course, you have 3 dupes into it, you're now doing 70% physical damage, which is still very good as well. And if you have 1 dupe into it, at the start of battle, recover your own crystal energy by 10, so that's very good. And then at the start of the turn, if one HP is 50% or below, the crystal damage received by 15%, and you're increasing your own Jujutsu by 15, so this can technically go up to 85 here. And then the damage received can stack up with the one that Itadori provides, so he's going to be able to get like, what, 30%? Yeah, 30% damage reduction. Yeah, pretty good actually. It's actually surprising. Honestly, I would even say this is like low-key, like an S tier recollection bit low-key. They say it's an A tier one. Definitely makes sense to be in the high A tier, but low-key I could say this is like pretty close to reaching like a S tier. Like, yeah, I'd say this is definitely like high A tier, low S tier recollection, but this is like a very good one actually. This is very good. Like I said, I don't know if this is like a permanent thing, but or if it's like a, you know, like every other thing where it's like, oh, for the one turn you do use it, then you get the buff, right? And you have to wait 7, because it does say there's a cooldown here, so I'm not too sure. But regardless, even if it is like, you know, you can only use it for the one turn, right? It's still a pretty good number, right? 70% is still pretty huge. And even if you have 1 copy of it, 60% is not half bad either, right? Not crazy, but it's still not too bad either. Plus, of course, energy, like I said, if you use this on Itadori, it can be very, very helpful for him. Low-key kind of like wouldn't be bad to dupe if you wanted to. Anyways, guys, this video is already pretty long. Pretty sure you guys are already a little bit bored by now, but I hope that helped you guys out. So, you know, hope you guys have fun summoning. If you guys are going to be doing a couple more summons on Itadori, other than maybe like a free tunnel, I might do some myself, to be honest. Maybe like a couple. And then otherwise, I will probably just be saving her Gojo, and then we'll see from there. But with that being said, guys, I'm head on out. Good luck, guys, pulls, and I'll see all of you guys later. Peace, and take care, everybody.